The night was a frigid tomb, and a fresh blanket of snow blanketed the landscape. I was beyond understanding how the pilot had approved our flight plan. I hurried outside to the Sikorsky, climbing into the co-pilot's seat for a better view of the star-filled palette. We were bound north, just a sliver away from the Canadian border. Our mission, to retrieve a teenage patient in premature labor. A first-time mom, she was near the edge of our flight range at a facility without a helipad. No big deal. We'd made these flights before, landing in almost any terrain. Bumping through the night, the pilot climbed above 10,000 feet for smoother air. The Sikorsky could handle it, but the night was bone-chilling. I was bundled in boots and our standard-issue winter jacket, but my feet were already numb thanks to Raynaud's. The crew cabin was a frozen chamber, our breath visible in the frigid air. I asked the pilot to crank up the heat. "It is," he replied. A few minutes later, a pungent smell filled the cabin. Something was burning. The pilot quickly shut off the heat as wisps of smoke appeared from one of the redundant gauges. Dizziness and disorientation washed over me as I considered the invisible threat we had just inhaled. With our limited equipment, we pulled out the pulse oximeter, a handheld device that measures blood oxygen. Mine read 88, not ideal. The pilot's was worse at 86. Was this accurate or a figment of our imagination? Perhaps the cold weather had caused vasoconstriction, limiting blood flow to our fingers and affecting the readings. Or the altitude was depriving us of oxygen. I felt dizzy and the pilot was visibly concerned. My partner in the back threaded oxygen tubing through the seats. As the co-pilot, I was trapped in the front, unable to access the additional oxygen. The pilot descended to a lower altitude and my panic subsided. My feet, however, remained frozen. We cruised in relative silence at 6,000 feet, shivering through the late-night ordeal. An unforecast headwind forced us to divert for refueling, burning excessive fuel. The -20-degree weather was unusual, a stark reminder of our northern latitude. After landing, the frigid night greeted us with an eerie emptiness. There were no sounds, no maintenance crew, no ground crew, no FBO, and no one to fuel our aircraft. We sat, shivering, hungry, and exhausted. Our resourceful pilot found a small, unlocked side entrance, offering some respite from the elements. We contacted the local sheriff, who tracked down the FBO operator and arranged for fuel. Refueled, we continued our flight north. On most flights, we're greeted with gratitude upon arrival. Tonight, however, our presence was met with a stark contrast. The EMS crew, tired and cold, was eager to hand off their charge. The patient, a teenage girl, sounded more like an MMA fighter than an expectant mother. Her string of expletives about having to wait for us was astonishing. We had flown for hours, enduring discomfort to help her and her unborn child. She announced with a hint of defiance that she needed to use the bathroom before boarding. Our options were limited: preterm labor, frigid weather, and profound darkness. Our resourceful flight nurse rummaged through our gear, locating a pediatric nasogastric tube. With a touch of ingenuity, she used it as a makeshift Foley catheter. Her bladder now emptied, our patient now relented, and we could load her onto the aircraft. Anticipating a smooth, rapid flight with the tailwind at our backs, I was chagrined by her incessant chatter. We communicated with patients through our intercom headsets, a tool for reassessment in flight. This patient, however, continued to berate us, her words laced with profanity and ingratitude. She demanded music and food, but none of it was forthcoming. The nurse paramedic and I turned down the headset volume, settling in for the long journey home. The return flight was the longest of my career, cementing my reputation as the black cloud of flight medicine. We delivered the patient and her unborn child safely, the premature baby girl arriving approximately 45 minutes after landing. I'm unsure what name she chose for her daughter, but we never saw her again. I vowed to invest in better boots, and the teenage girls remained an enigma, no matter their predicament. Their tongues were sharp, their tempers volatile, and their gratitude often as fleeting as a summer breeze. Perhaps beneath the surface it was a defense mechanism, a way to cope with fear and the unknown. Her life had been irrevocably altered that night as she became a mother. Our crew remained professional despite the verbal abuse. Patients were scared, worried, and uncertain about their health. They entrusted their bodies to our care, and in return we gave them what they wanted most: professional, competent medical care. That's what we delivered that night, and every night.